Hey, welcome to the Overtime Podcast, where we take Sunday's series further, where we, at the end of every series, we get together and have a conversation with some really great people about the topic, just to take it a little further and talk about the things that we didn't get to talk about throughout the message series. So today I'm sitting down with some good friends of mine, and we are talking all about identity. And so I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. As always, make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or wherever you are. Hit the button that does the thing to follow, subscribe. Here we go. Welcome to Overtime. It has been a minute, as I've been told to reference and talk through. We actually started moving this podcast to going at the end of every series, and then when we went through Christmas series, we did one at the end of more, and then went through the Christmas series, and Christmas Eve kind of took over, and we came in on January and realized we never did a podcast.
Okay.
At the end of the Christmas series. So. And then we did what is one of our longest series that we've done in a long time with the identity series that we're talking about today, Who Am I? So if you are a faithful listener of Overtime, I'm glad to be back with you. And I apologize for the delay, but we're here. We're excited. It's been cool to go through the discussion of Who Am I? Because just the anecdotal comments that I've heard and gotten have been that it's been really, really impactful for people and resonated with where they are. And we started this series because we believe that statement that says who you are informs what you do. And so at the beginning of the year, we can have all these New Year's resolutions and we can talk through different habits and things. But at the end of the day, if we don't look inward and change something internally, it might be fruitless to try to change something externally. And that's why we began this conversation. Who am I? So I didn't tell you guys this ahead of time, but what I want you to do is introduce yourselves briefly. I did tell you that for like 30 seconds. And then I want you to share where you're at with any New Year's resolutions that you have had.
Oh,
good.
okay.
Because
Yeah.
we're a month in now, and I want to see where you guys are at.
You don't love that question?
No, I'm okay with it. Just haven't had time to think about
Are
it.
you like an anti-resolution person? Well,
No,
I'm sorry.
just
We're about
not
to
really,
find out.
I'm just not
Yeah.
really good at them.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'll go first really quick. Jeremy, content director. New Year's resolutions, I would say I'm like a goals-oriented person. I like these things. If Ashley gives me, kidless time at a coffee shop for 2 hours to think about goals, I'm like stoked and excited about it. So I would say I'm doing good on some of them, not good on some of them. Accomplished a good goal at the beginning of January, which was running this race that I'd been training for a while. So that was really cool. And then I'm just doing I've never done like a plan, Bible in a year plan. Like I know I've gone through the entire thing, but I've never done like a plan, and I'm doing a plan right now actually with Josh, who's producing the podcast, and Jeremy Geist, who's a friend of ours, and we're doing the Bible Project plan. It is so cool. This is my first time, consuming Bible Project content, and
It's so good.
Man, it is so good. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish somebody would have given me this
Yes.
when I first got a Bible handed to me,
Yep.
because it would have been so helpful.
Actually, just get that before you get your first, like their whole
Yeah.
little book. Like, just read that first.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, exactly. So that's one that's going well. I'm on track because the Plan app is so good and helpful, and it reminds you, and you just read your things and watch your videos each day. And so that's one that's going good. So I'm failing on one that I wanted to do because of kind of the series, the idea of like personal declarations every day. So a list of things that you say to yourself every day, kind of those like motivational things.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to do it every day, and I'm like 50-50 right now. So failing.
You had another
There.
New Year's resolution that you've told me about, and I've gotten to watch you struggle and wrestle with this
Christy,
New Year's resolution.
what is
Do you
this?
care to share this
How-
with everyone?
I told you and Jackie that in confidence.
Oh, no.
And so I made a New Year's resolution.
I feel like the more people know, the better it'll be for you.
Yes. I was trying to like make a change in my life, which 6 months from now people would go, I've noticed that this change has occurred. That was my goal. I want to become a person who arrives at meetings early. And so I wanted to become a person who 5 minutes early to every meeting. And I only told Shane about it for accountability. I know.
I'm like,
I don't feel like this is a
Yeah.
New Year's resolution that has to stay private. We're all here because we love you and support
Yeah.
you.
how's it been going?
I would say
No, that's not true. It's the meetings I'm in with you. You're there 5 minutes early.
Christy,
Yeah.
stop being so
I'm-
nice.
I'm
This is
trying
not
to.
going
You
well.
were more on time for this than you usually are.
Yeah. I'm really trying to.
More on time, meaning he still wasn't on time.
No, I feel like he was like right on time.
Okay.
I was right on time. I was also right on time to staff meeting today, which means I was the last person there.
No, you were not the last
Oh,
person.
yeah.
2 or 3 people walked in after
Yep.
you.
You beat me there.
Okay,
Yep.
so that one I would say I'm crushing about 20% of the way.
Crushing
20%
it.
Yeah.
is something.
But my 6:30 a.m. meeting this morning, I was there 5 minutes early, so I'm winning sometimes. And then my 7:45, I was 5 minutes late too.
You had a 6:30 meeting and a 7:45 meeting today already.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then a 9 o'clock, and then another one, and then now this at.
Yep.
That question you asked me earlier, like how do we get around the whirlwind? That's not how we do.
Well, we'll take it offline. We'll take it offline.
I love that. Being on time, that's so great.
Thanks for sharing, Jeremy.
Yeah, that was supposed to be 30 seconds, and you made that so much longer.
You should like. Do you have anything you can rat Shane out on?
Nope. I don't tell him my New Year's resolutions.
There are things I want to say I shouldn't say on a podcast. Okay, who wants to go next? This is supposed to be fun, but now you're going to get hounded.
I'm Shane. I'm the director of Connection here at Northpoint Church. And I've never been really good at New Year's resolutions. I don't know why. There's a variety of reasons. So I like to think about this idea of who do I want to become. And so I want to become a more healthier version of me. But the only way I can do that is I've got to have something to look forward to. So my wife and I are going on this hiking trip, Grand Canyon, in May. And in order to do it, we have to be in much better shape than we are today. And so that's motivating me to exercise a whole lot more. And that's gone pretty well. And then the other New Year's resolution was I want to be a more joyful person. And so practicing some habits around this idea of experiencing joy. I think I used to have this idea that joy I'd stumble into joy, but I think we can be intentional about experiencing joy. And so there's some little habits that I've been practicing, some probably weird, some probably not, that are helping me become a more joyful person. So when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I think about who do I want to become and what's going to help me get there.
That's cool. And y'all are doing the Grand Canyon in like a day. Like you're going down and up in a day.
Well, that's the plan.
So see you in a couple of days.
That's right. Well, once you go down, I mean, you do have to come back up. You don't really have a choice.
You can use a helicopter.
This is true.
You can be life lighted out.
Yeah,
But that's not the goal, though.
That is definitely not
Let's
the
hope
goal.
that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I have noticed your joy goal because we're also in like a community group together. So
Yeah.
I've noticed that you've I hear in your language like you are trying to push joy on others.
I just think
Push joy. Push joy.
Yeah,
Wow,
he
that
really-
sounds great. I would love
He
to
really
be in my
does. He's
group with
like,
me.
yeah.
when you picture when I heard you say like I've noticed your joy more. I just picture Shane in group like more aggressively laughing at jokes or something
I
like
think
ha, it's so funny.
Yes, he
I'm more joyful.
You're trying to force joy. I mean, that's fine. I'm just like, because he'll be like, yeah, like talk more about joy, and I'm like naturally, I don't lean toward.
We can be intentional with joy, Jen.
Yes, I'm working on it with you.
Thank you.
I love your become thing. I'm focusing on who I'm becoming, and therefore it's going to impact some of the things I do this year. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yes. Compliment. Check.
One a day.
One a week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One of us now.
Yeah.
I will. Mine's short and sweet. I love goals. I've done them a bunch of different ways. This year, for the first time, we heard about someone doing a bingo sheet of goals. So our family sat down, and the 4 of us have a bingo sheet, and it's all of our goals, which means like 20. What is that? 25 goals, I think. And we have a free space. Anyway, I forget how it works.
25.
Right?
Yep.
And so I'm taking that super seriously. And
Poor Sal.
I know. But we all made our own goals. But some of them were trying to willy-nilly these goals. And I was like, no, that's not specific enough. That's not measurable enough. We got a little, but I've made it a little bit of a competition, which is a little fun. But you have a prize when you get a bingo. And if you get a coverall, best year ever.
Nice.
Oh,
Wow.
if you check them all.
Yeah. I mean, I even just knowing all 4 of our bingo cards, it's virtually impossible. We put some pretty lofty goals, but some of them are very doable. Like a bingo is very doable.
What's the price if you
I
cover
don't
the
know
whole
yet.
card?
And I don't know yet. I don't have to worry about that until December of 2024.
I have questions about this afterwards.
About the bingo, it's so much fun.
Well, totally not related to the podcast and where this is going, so I'll ask you afterwards. But
You don't know how to play bingo? Okay, well, go ahead.
Josh has questions
Anyway,
about the rules of
that's
bingo.
mine.
Did y'all come up with did you do each other's, or like everybody did their own 25 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like a big though, like if you guys read Atomic Habits,
Yep.
like that kind of like stuff can be like micro things can be in there, you know, just like daily things that you're wanting to
Yeah.
do for 3
Okay, yeah.
minutes, which is probably how most of my goals actually almost always unfold. But even things like I never read fiction. And I'm like, I'm going to read 3 fiction books this year. I feel like that's totally attainable.
Yeah.
Books that don't teach me to do or change a thing, that just are pure entertainment. And that's going to be really weird for me because I just
Yeah.
am nerdy like that.
Yep. I just reread Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for like the 10th time.
See, like I just need to read a book like that. Just read a normal book, you know.
Yep. Christy?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm part of the content team, and I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but so I'll be 50 this month. So because I'm turning 50, I did this when I was turning 42. Like I wanted to start running when I was going to turn 40. So I ran like a few 5Ks or whatever, past the running days. I just want to get back to working out again on a regular basis. And so AJ literally has written me up, like he's broken it out like for the week, every day, like what muscle group to focus on, and mixed in
I love
cardio.
it.
So now I feel like I it's a good motivator because I can't not do it. My sweet boy put this.
I was about to ask, do you
Yeah.
feel like you do it better when you're doing it for your kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So he puts so much thought into it, and so I guess that's my resolution is to stick with that.
That's very cool.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a good one.
Since we are we're following the series, and I realized I was going to try to recap some of the content, but it might take forever because the series has been so packed full. But, we've been answering the question of who am I? Like that's been the goal of the series, right? And who you are informs what you do. That's why that's so significant. And we've talked about all these different facets of, in Christ, I'm a child of God who's loved by God. We've talked about community. We've talked about like the impact of standing secure in that identity and what it means for people in your life and how you love other people. Since it is such a personal series around identity, I wanted to ask this first question of what have your personal takeaways been for you as you think about your identity? And also I would just say, I asked, Jen and I were a part of teaching this series, but I asked y'all two because I would say y'all two are some of the most secure people I know in terms of identity. And so I'm like,
I'm sorry.
I just think y'all have gone on some sort of journey to be able to just sit rooted and be okay and good with you. And so I just think people can, benefit from hearing some of your own journeys and your takeaways. So what have been y'all's takeaways from the series?
You want to go, Christy?
No, go ahead. You got something, go for it.
I don't
that
think
profound
anything
of a
good.
series?
Honestly, it's like, what do I start with?
Well, that's how I felt too. Like there's too many. Like
Yeah,
this has been my favorite.
Just Jordan's the way we started the series, and Jordan had the audience like turn and tell somebody who you are,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just for some reason that just sat with me. And the question I've been asking myself is when I think about the question who am I, just answer the question what do I start with? And in the past, I mean, we all have answers we start with. I'm a parent. I'm a husband. I'm the connection director at Northpoint. But I'm trying to like embrace this idea that can I start with this idea that I'm made in the image of God, and it gave him great joy to adopt me into his family. So like that's the question that I'm taking away from this message series is, Shane, what are you starting with? Does that make sense? So that's my one big takeaway from the series.
Yeah.
It was hard. It's really hard though to think of just one takeaway. I mean, this series could, you were saying it's a long series, but I think we could continue to talk about this.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
there's so much to talk about and so much. I think this series gave people a lot. It didn't matter, where they were on their journey or how old anyone was that was listening or watching. Because I think identity is one of those things that like I don't think you ever master it. So like you just get better at remembering things, but I think we still have the tendency to go back to our false identity. So I think for me, it was just like exactly the same thing. Like we're not going back to the false identity, but to really sit in that. And I think age helps. Like, I feel like with this series, it really helped me think about where I am now and how I think about myself, and even a few years ago, because I think that I worry less about what other people think, and I care more about the real person that I'm talking to or sitting across from. So that kind of stood out for me.
Yeah. Jen, what about you?
I really think the whole thing. I was reminded. I forgot about my imposter, the lies. Like I forget to check that voice, and we talked about that in our own community group too. But the whole series in general, I think it's always funny how it's like coming back to the basics. Like, and so people will often be like, oh, I've got to understand the Bible, or I've got to have these deep theological conversations. Like, no, actually, you just need to understand who you are in Christ first. And everything else will kind of flow from that. Like, those other things are neat. They're fun conversations to have, to learn the context and the history and to do the things. But, like, this is like that, like in the word you keep using, like rooted and established, right? Like when Paul's like, I just pray that you're rooted and established and how much God loves you, how wide and how deep that love is. Because if everything else will overflow from that, all the knowledge that you need, all the things that you need to do, the goals you need to set, all that, if that's an overflow from that. So I think for me, it was just a reminder. It's like, okay, hey, just come back to the basics. Who are you and me? You know, like let's just have this conversation with God about who you are. And then we can talk about other things too. But like, so I just had forgotten that. Sometimes when you just kind of journey for a while, you forget to like check the basics. Like, oh, that's right. God loves me. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I can go into that meeting a little different because that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a reminder.
Yeah. No, that's good. I agree with that too. I think for me, it's brought identity back to top of mind.
Yeah.
In a way that's helpful, because I'm realizing, and I listened to this podcast called the Good Soil Podcast, which Shane's familiar with, and they were talking about different parts of us, that kind of language. What's the IFS, like internal family systems? Is that what it is?
Family systems theory.
Family systems theory. Yeah, just all of that. So the different parts of you. And I think through Jordan's like part 3 with the imposter, I was just recognizing, I don't know, almost like trying to sit like out of body and watch myself a little bit and go, oh, there I am operating out of that part of me.
Yeah,
Oh, there I am operating out of that part of me. And just being like, you know, if someone would say something or do something, go like that kind of hurt that part of me, but I know that this part's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and so just starting to, I don't know, just thinking through that lens a little bit more as we were going through this content. And I just thought, similar, just top of mind. It's helpful to go, oh yeah, who you are informs what you do. So let's just stay here. Yeah. And the other stuff will probably trickle down. Yeah,
we just get in that like pattern of what we do is who we are. So it's just like we just got to remind ourselves to like reverse that.
Yeah. I think one of the, we went 5 parts, and probably because we could have talked forever about this. Like we could have spent the year on identity, right? And one of the categories that ended up getting cut, but I think is an important part of this, is from Romans 12, where Paul talks about this idea of renewing your mind. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I want to know from y'all, because this is a renewing of your mind thing, like to sink down into this truth that I'm a child of God and allow ourselves to live out of that. What are some practical things that you have done to sink into your identity as a child of God and to live out of that and renew your mind?
Goodness, Jeremy, ask a bigger question.
Sorry.
Say it again so I can.
So what are some practical things that you have done to sink into your identity as a child of God?
I think question myself, like question when I feel like, I don't know if it's an uncomfort, like I question, like what is our trigger of some sort to like, now I'll ask, like the practical part of that is practicing, like where is that coming from? And then the reminder of who I am first and foremost before I'm a mom, a wife, an employee, a friend. But like when I feel uncertain or I feel triggered by someone or something, it's that what helps is to stop and question, where is that coming from? What is that about? And then, oh yeah, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. So I think the renewing is more of a like just being, it's an awareness and then question and being willing to sit with that and figure it out and go, but this is the truth.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about you, Christy, is your curiosity. You're always just curious about things. And so you're describing just being curious about yourself, right? And just going like, I wonder what that was, or I wonder what that was about. And that's really good. So questioning yourself and what you do and what you say and why you do it. Yeah, that's good.
I love when you point out that trigger. And so I guess that would kind of be my answer, is like learning to have grace for the triggers, like but to analyze them a little bit, or be curious. Be curious is a much better posture. I'm like, okay, how do I fix the trigger? I think we go at like our emotions or the things that like jump up at us, and we're either trying to squash it down or get rid of it, or we just fully embrace it, as opposed to like even you were talking, like set it outside. Okay, what's this thing that I'm feeling and thinking, and where is God in that? I think we kind of have it fall over us. We know, but we don't slow down enough. Right. So when you said that trigger thing, I was like, that's what I think I do. Is I'm like, okay, why did I just feel that way? Why am I irritated with that person? Why am I wanting to have this response to my spouse? Okay, why is what my kid did bothering me at that level? Like, so just notice it. Don't judge it. Like hold it really loose and just like, okay, so what is that?
Yeah.
And I love how you're stopping to think about it. You're asking the question, what am I feeling? So I say every morning, I try to ask myself 4 questions when I wake up in the morning, and I process them through journaling. And 2 of the questions are, what am I feeling? And as a man, it's sometimes difficult to just not write things like I'm tired, frustrated, angry, but really take some time to reflect on what is going on inside of me. And then the very next question I ask myself is, what do I know is true? And I do have like a growing list of truth statements that I will like turn to in my journal and kind of like go through the list. And if I feel like I'm triggered by one, like I'll stop on that one and just sit in it and just like remind myself, like, I know this is true. And how does it, the emotion that I'm feeling, does this truth statement help me in this motion that I'm feeling? Does that make sense? So those are 2 questions that I try to ask myself every single day.
That's
and
good.
Just journal the answers to those. But it takes time. And it takes processing our emotions.
Well, and I think the questioning, like for me, questioning myself, the renewing of my mind is not just about me, but it also has allowed me to then question and like, I wonder why somebody responded that way, or I wonder why they're behaving that way. So it's turned from like, it started off like a selfish thing, like trying to figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it's allowed me grace with other people to say, I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, or if they even know
Or
why
if-
they did
exactly.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm cracking up inside because you were like, as a man, I just could just write down like I'm angry, I'm frustrated. I was like, is that not what we're supposed to write down? That's like what I feel most of the time. Like but I was thinking about like that. I read a book on parenting boys one time, and it talked about giving boys more vocabulary around emotions.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that the opposite isn't somewhat true. And I don't want to stereotype things, but there is a little bit like, I think it actually took me a lot to get to a place where I could just be like, as a woman, like, I'm just angry. Like, because then, like, I feel like sometimes as a girl, we have to, like, flower it up or soften it up, or we have to come in with a more gentle emotion. So I think it's funny how you're like, I'm trying to expand my emotions. I'm over here trying to be like, I'm trying to layer that into, no, I'm just angry.
well, I think because it's funny, we have this like feelings wheel that we like hand out these guys in some of our group experiences, and watching men like receive these feelings wheels are like, what did I sign up for? But like I'm usually angry because of some other emotion that I'm feeling. Like someone may have let me down, and I feel disappointed in them, and that has made me angry. And sometimes I think we're quick to identify I'm angry, but it takes time to peel that back to get to the initial emotion.
Yeah, it's an iceberg. It's like, that's on the surface, but what's the bigger thing that's lurked beneath this, below that.
And the funny thing is a lot of it goes back to like how we see ourselves, our identity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's driving those emotions that are coming out of us.
Yeah.
I would say like the bulk of it does. Like you're like we talked about in the series that we did about not being offended, or it had a better title than that because you do such a good job with titles, and I'm forgetting it.
Those people?
Yes, that series.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of that idea, like the more secure you are, the more rooted and established you are, the less that kind of stuff sways you.
Yep.
I'm still cracking up at the emotion wheel, though.
I'll share with you. I'll give you the
I
emotions
don't
wheel.
need one. I
No,
know all of
everybody
them,
needs it.
unfortunately. It just, I had to have the courage to be like, no, I'm just
Yeah.
angry.
I've gone to the same. We have one at our house, and I've gone to the same. Like when I'm sitting with my journal in the morning, I process that same question. I try to every day, and when I feel like I'm just sitting there staring at it for 5 minutes, I go grab the wheel because I'm like, I don't know. I need some terminology to help me, and usually it's like that's it, that's the one. Or I've shared the like emoji thing too. Pull open the emojis on your phone and pick one, and then see what it's labeled.
Yeah.
And usually that's been pretty helpful as well.
That is funny.
One of y'all, I don't know who said it. Somebody said, "Don't judge yourself," or something. I don't know who said that.
I think Jen.
We all
think-
probably are saying it.
Yeah, probably. I think on the journey, that's something that maybe we didn't hit on enough in the series, but as we sink into our identity as a child of God from our head to our heart, giving ourselves grace along that process to recognize like it is a journey and it's not going to happen overnight, and it's probably even just like the refinement piece, like it's going to happen as a result of painful things that come your way that you can't control, and the way you treat yourself along the way can be really impactful to the journey you're on. When we just had our second child, which is crazy, he's about to be 7 months old now, which is just nuts, right? Like he's just, it's wild. And when we were a couple weeks into having him, we still weren't sleeping. I'd just gone back to work. Both kids now have had this existential crisis whenever we have them. And so now I've been like, okay, it's going to happen. So don't think about any big life decisions when I have a child. Okay, that's good. But I had a call with a good buddy of mine. His name's Elliot Moon. And I was talking to him, and he just said, man, you just seem really tired. What I want you to do tomorrow is just go into the mirror when you wake up, look at yourself like in your eyes, don't look away, and just say, I'm going to give you some grace today. And I think that was so helpful for me. And I think on our identity journeys, sometimes we need to do that because we want to do, or we want to,
Sure.
we've given people a lot of things to think about in this series, but we never, we should have worked that in at some point because that's an
just be
important
kind
part
to
of it.
yourself as
Yeah.
you're thinking through it.
Yeah. And that's a little bit of what Jordan did talk about in part 3 of the imposter of
Yeah.
when you do discover your imposter, it's not, oh, now you're done. It's like, embrace him. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
what are yellow flags? You talked about it a little bit, or, being curious or becoming more aware. How do we become more aware of those yellow or red flags that would indicate we're not operating out of our true self?
You mean outside, just like a sense, like in
Yeah, outside of a sense, like even developing that sense is a process too. But what are some maybe just things that you guys have developed that you go, oh, I know when this happens, I got to do some soul searching here.
Well, I think it's important for you to identify your imposter, first of all, because I think we all have imposters that look very different. And so if I know what my imposter looks like, I'll start to see the symptoms of my imposter creeping in. Like I had some experiences growing up that really impacted my own feeling of self-worth, to where I felt worthless unless I had something to provide someone. Like, so even when I'm meeting with people, there's this imposter side of me that says, Shane, they really don't want to spend time with you unless you bring something valuable to the conversation that is more than just yourself. So like when my false identity is showing up, I can see it in, am I prepping for coffees? Like, okay, what am I going to provide this person that's going to show them that I have something to offer this conversation other than me? And I catch that all the time. So that's one, but I know what my imposter looks like. And so I know when it starts to rear its ugly head. Does that make sense?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I feel myself isolate more. Like when I'm walking away from feeling rooted and established, I will find reasons not to be social. I will find reasons to even like go to bed early. Like I'll go to bed when I'm not tired, and I'll eat when I'm not hungry. And those are like, okay, like you're not even hungry and you're just eating. Like, and I'll eat random things, whatever you can find. Like, it's like, perhaps something's a little off balance. So I think like when my isolated, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, even the other day I told my husband, I was like, why did I lay down at like 9 the other night? Because I know I'm not tired, but I want to get the day done. And it's because I'm not really like looking for something to like get me rooted and established. So that would be mine. Eat when I'm not hungry, sleep, like go to bed when I'm not actually tired, and isolate, withdraw.
Yeah.
What about for you, Christy?
I was having a hard time narrowing it down, I guess. But I think when I catch myself, like if I am bringing work home and I'm bringing home to work more, like I feel like it feels like, okay, I'm not being a good enough mom or wife or whatever, and then it's carrying over, so I've got to do something or work. You know what, if I don't get this done, then tomorrow I'm going to be behind, and then they're going to think that I didn't do my job, or that I'm not prepared, or that somebody else can. It's that I think when I catch myself spinning my wheels in both directions, where I kind of like, okay, that's not good. And that's kind of a flag for me to like, okay, check myself. Like what message am I telling myself that I have to prove something, or that, do something in each place to feel something or to be something. And that's kind of my, take a minute and
That's a good one.
slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. Jeremy, what about you?
I think for me, it's probably there's like a cynicism that creeps in, and it's hard for me to see in the moment because all of a sudden I just start to think things are wrong, and I'm justified as to why I think they're wrong. And so it's hard to hear the voice that says like, hey, you need to chill.
Yeah.
But I can definitely enough times now have felt that cynicism creep in and go, that's not who I want to be. That's not my identity in Jesus. And then also just when I'm not able to be present with like people. So, whether it's like going to the pantry instead of like hanging out with my kids and grabbing whatever's in the pantry, or checking my phone for email or
that's a good
Instagram or
one.
Slack.
Scrolling,
Or,
yeah.
Distractions.
Yeah.
Numbing yourself.
Yeah, I just took Slack off my phone again after having it on there because I was like, man, I just felt myself every time, even like, this is TMI. Like,
But here we go.
Yeah. Even going to the bathroom, like if I'm just like, oh, let me just Slack, just check it really quick, and it's like, what am I doing? That's crazy. Or at a stoplight, let me check Slack. you know, like why would I do that? So those are rumble. And if I'm with my kids and I'm, you know, got my phone over here and I'm checking things, then definitely is an indicator that, you know, why would I do that? That's not who I want to be, you know? How do we discover these things? Like, how would you guys say you discovered this?
Lots of pain and suffering.
Right.
Yeah. So besides that,
Honestly, like, I think when my false self is rearing its ugly head, I go into image protection mode, which is very tiring. So when I start to see symptoms of I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I'm trying to control outcomes, a lot of that is sourced in I'm trying to control what people think of me, because I have this image that I want to live up to. So one of the good things that I started to pay attention to was, why am I so tired? Why am I so angry? That was another emotion that I think I have all these reasons why I think I'm angry, but they were symptoms that I was chasing. And the source of the anger was, I'm trying to protect an image that I've created that I want to be known for. And that was not necessarily the true self. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think at some point someone has probably reflected it back to me. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm thinking like through my life, like someone has said like, hey, like, are you checking out? Or, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Or, hey, you know, like food stuff is, you know, it's harder to reflect back to people because it feels so personal. But I mean, I did have a friend, you know, love me to the depth of being like this isn't okay. Like
Yeah.
there is a thing here. And, you know, are you willing to at least consider it? And so I think when we hear like a podcast, we hear a message, or we read a book, or we hear someone say something, whether it's, you know, and it kind of stings for just a second, or we just know it's true. And we just got to figure out, okay, I just need to be able to see that clearly and then adjust. But I would say some point, almost all of my like yellow flags or whatever my warnings are, someone has said,
Yeah.
hey, you're laying down your bed at 8 o'clock every night and just zoning out on TV, you know, something's up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And usually it's Sal and I just get mad. I get angry. I don't need my emotion wheel. I'm just angry.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You should give Sal the emotion wheel to give
Oh
to
my
Jen
gosh,
in
there's
one of
so
those
many-
moments.
I'm going to bring 2 to group tonight.
There would be so many things that would come from that emotion wheel. That'd be great.
So on the flip side, what does it feel like when you are operating out of your true self in Jesus? Because it can be easy to go like, let's stop doing the bad, right? But what does it mean to start doing the good? Like, what does that actually feel like to you guys?
Less pain and suffering.
Mine is so cheesy, but it honestly feels, you know those scenes in movies when the character is like just in their sweet spot, and it's like the music and the sky's usually really bright, and like the music's like a good song.
Yes.
And you can feel with the character that they're just like there. Like I think we have those moments too.
Yeah.
Like so when I feel like when it just flows naturally, when it's easy, you know, when it doesn't feel like I'm constantly fighting myself or fighting my emotions towards someone, you know. So just like I feel like there's and it doesn't. I don't think I stay there very long. But there's moments when I feel like God is like, yeah, this is just you and me,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, wait a minute,
Freedom.
It
feels
is
like
just
freedom.
you and me.
freedom.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
refreshing.
it's comfort too.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
you know, it's like, you know, I'll realize like I'm just comfortable. Like that
Yes.
comfortable in your own skin. Like I'm just feel good. Like I'm okay.
Yep.
You know, and it's just such a different thing than trying to chase like, you know, am I doing enough or am I enough? And do I
Yes.
belong here? And am I wearing the right thing? And am I running in the right circles? And, you know, because I think socially that can happen a lot too. Like that was one big struggle for me, was trying to make sure that, you know, I was all the things in all the places. So, you know, the room mom and the football mom and the dance mom. And then did I go to enough of the parties to be included, but not too many to be that mom, you know, and all of that like weird stuff.
I'm getting
we do.
tired just listening to
Yes.
that.
Oh, it's exhausting. So like getting to the point where, you know, and Keith helped a lot. You're right. Like on the other side is for someone to reflect that back. But he's like, and you're doing this because why? Or you said you don't really even care for this group of people. Like, why are you doing this?
Oh yeah, don't point
Like-
that stuff back out at me. That's so yeah, it's good
Well,
stuff.
ouch.
Yeah.
But it's when I can be comfortable. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to that thing, or I wasn't included in that. I am really okay with that.
Yeah.
What about you? When do you
Yeah.
feel the most you?
I think, well, it's funny when you said that, yes, like when it's like a movie.
Yeah.
Because I did a big race in January, and then I hadn't really gone on many runs yet. And I hadn't gone on a trail run, which I love trail running. Yesterday I was at work. Norcross heard me say it, and I was like, either I need to finish what I'm doing at work, or I should go run right now. This is my only opportunity. And I went and ran, and was on a trail at Brushy Creek, and I had that like feeling.
moment?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, this is, and it felt very much like, I don't care. Like, this is me and God. I'm good. I'm happy. Like, I'm okay. I would say when I've got a big project looming or I've got something coming up on the horizon and I'm at peace with how that goes and I'm not afraid of like failure, I'm just stewarding it from a place of like love and responsibility, is when I notice I'm okay. I think I'm operating out of my true self, you know?
That's good.
That is good.
But when I'm consumed by failure, then I'm definitely not, or fear of failure. I had a conversation. I didn't share this on stage yesterday. It just didn't feel right, or a couple days ago. But had a conversation with somebody where I had to deliver some bad news, and I did not start with the bad news. I beat it around the bush way too much, and it was all out of fear. And I, ended up hurting the relationship in a significant way. And then when I was kind of reflecting on it later on, I came across that passage that said, there is no fear in love. And if the fruits of the Spirit are how you love other people, where there is fear, you're not operating out of the true self that produces fruit in your life.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I am operating out of fear, it's an indicator that, okay, I'm not who I am in Christ right now, and if I had gone into that conversation operating out of love, not fear, I would have been so much more upfront. That's the most loving thing I could do with the bad news, and been so much more willing to just like take whatever reaction they had versus being afraid of their reaction,
Yeah.
So
That is so true.
That's good.
I think when you find yourself beating around the bush for any reason, like there's something in that's like, okay, just say the thing.
Yeah.
Because you can say it in kindness,
yeah.
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 But I had an experience this week where I felt like God was like, you tend to either make yourself be small or overcompensate and try and be bigger. You can't just be with me. And I'm just like, oh, so I went into a meeting yesterday and I was like, not too small, not too big, just yours. Not too small, not too big, just yours. Because like I do that, I overcompensate or downplay myself or act like it's not really me.
Look how humble I am
look at
versus
the
like, look how confident I
Yeah.
am.
And even my body does this for some reason. but sounds like, do you notice that when you're nervous, you do this? Like I like my shoulders will even, and I was like, no.
I just hope you're saying those things out loud so people can hear you saying not too small, not too big, just right. People are like, what's wrong with Jen?
Don't worry about
Well,
it.
next time
Don't
we're
worry about it.
backstage, try before you go out, I'm going to be like, not too small, not too
But
big.
that's a perfect example of when your false self can creep in. Like someone was like, oh, do you ever not get nervous? No. Like I'm back here the whole time going, okay, I've done the best I can. Just go out there and have a conversation. Just go out there and just get out
Yeah.
of your head and just like you've tried, you've prepped, you've studied, release.
Yeah. I mean, public speaking, because it is one of the most terrifying things that people would say they would like never want to do, probably like is one of the things that reveals your identity so much.
Oh my God, it's terrible.
Because I mean, you're backstage going like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, but you're afraid.
Yeah. And the more you say don't be afraid, the more afraid you are.
Yep. Every time. So.
Yep. Last question before we wrap up today is just, if someone were having coffee with you, working on their identity, they're struggling to see them as God sees them, how would you encourage them? I know it's a very broad struggle, but what would you say if you were to just distill it down to, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to think about this.
Well, at first I'd beat around the bush. And
Right.
Not too big, not too small.
I would say we're going to have a few coffees. Let's do this together. Let's walk through this. I don't think that's a one coffee thing. So I think I would say, all right, so now we're starting. Let's do this several times.
The first question I'm going to ask myself is, how do they think I see them?
Oh, that's good.
Like, do they recognize that I see them as an unrepeatable image bearer of the Most High God, and there is no one in the world like them, and God went to great lengths to pursue them? And do they feel that on the other side of me? Am I reinforcing what I think their true self looks like, or how I think God feels about them? So I'm going to check what I'm doing to create an experience for them that says, I know who you are. And then I have, I do all these weird extra stuff, 3 feelings wheels and whatnot. But there's one of my favorite resources, TrueFace. They've written some fantastic books. They had this one thing, and this is obviously someone that I know and I have trust with, I'm going to do this with. But I try to have them walk through this exercise where it's like, imagine you're sitting in an empty room, and the only thing in that room is a chair that you're sitting in. And on the opposite wall of the chair that you're sitting in is a mirror. And you're looking at the mirror and you're seeing yourself. And what you don't realize is that God the Father and God the Son are on the other side of the mirror, and it's a one-way mirror, and they're looking at you and they're having a conversation about you, what are they saying? And just unpack that with
That's
them.
good, yeah.
And just like sit in it. Like, what is Jesus saying to his Father? What is the Father saying to Jesus about you? And let's process this. And why do you say that about you? And what do you think is true? And so I think putting men in that spot or people in that spot, as long as I have that relational trust that I can walk them through that exercise. But that exercise was very helpful for me personally, and I go back to it all the time.
That's not your right out of the gate exercise. Like, kind of.
That's right. Hi, I'm
sitting in a
Shane.
room and it's just a chair. and you-
Pretend you're in a
Hey,
chair.
there's this room in the back. You gotta come with me. I got this mirror.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
this
no, I
mirror.
Yeah.
don't set up the room. That's fantastic.
Nice to meet you. Want to come to my church?
Yeah. Or
Join
hey,
a group.
you should do. Have you ever heard of Mighty Fine before in the men's bathroom?
Yes.
I could be with them.
We could sit in the chair, and then
Stand
you
at the
could
urinal
whisper and
look out the
say,
window.
You stand right here.
"Hey, I know that's a bathroom, but what if God the Father and God the Son are in there? What are they?"
In the
saying
mighty
about
fine
you?"
vine. Wow.
Oh,
That's amazing.
So yeah, what would you say?
There you go.
okay. Read that again. I need to.
Okay, if someone were having coffee with you, working through their identity, struggling to see them as God sees them, how would you encourage them?
I mean, and I don't know if this is necessarily the healthiest thing, but I because you don't want to downplay it, but I just the universal, like, everyone struggles with who they are. Like, it's a universal thing. You know, I do just because I'm sitting across from you doesn't mean that I don't struggle with that every day too. You just get, you get better at it, and you surround yourself by, I mean, what really, really helps is to surround yourself by people who share the same value, and they know their worth, and they know that they're made in the image of God. And I think when you surround yourself with people like that, it helps remind you as you kind of struggle with that. But sitting across from someone, I think people have oftentimes never even heard how amazing they are, that no one's ever told them that. So all they know is either the lies they're telling themselves or the lies they've been told. So to give someone the gift of sitting across from them and telling them how they're really seen, I think is an amazing gift. And so, that's what I would do, is just like share that it's a universal thing. This is the truth. And then the importance of surrounding yourself by people that can remind you of that. And like you were
Love
saying,
that.
like,
I love that.
it's not something you can do alone.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Have grace. And, I'm here. Let's have another coffee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
I love the quote from John Mark Comer that's, "You're both hurt and healed at the deepest levels of community." And if I'm sitting across from somebody, like you just said, who's saying, I'm like, "Hey, here, let's do this in a community." Because that's how you're going to be healed in whatever false lies or things that you've ascribed to yourself throughout your life. That's so good. I think I would, similar to probably a combination of all of them, I would send them an Amazon link to the book Abba's Child by Brennan Manning and say, buy this book now. Like, I want to watch you buy it. Because a lot of times you're like, read this book.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, no, you really need to get the book. And then let's meet up, talk about chapter 1 next week.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I think that's what I would do. Because that book has been one of the most influential identity impacts on many people that I know, myself included. I know people who read it once a year because it's just so helpful and full of such good reminders.
Just like Harry Potter.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Every year.
Yep. About the same.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing your insight around identity. I really feel like this is helpful, and it's been, these conversations, like identity is not meant to be a monologue, but for the past 5 Sundays, it has been a monologue. And this feels more like, okay, here's what we can really, break this down and do with. And so, Shane, would you actually, just for anybody who's listening or watching, would you just pray for their identity journey to wrap us up, and then we'll move on from there?
Yeah, I'd like it. So if everyone would just pretend they're in a room.
And there's a two-way mirror. Yeah.
All right, I will try to do my best. Heavenly Father, thank you for just giving me this opportunity to have this conversation with these wonderful people. And God, what I know is true about them is what I know is true about everyone that's listening or watching, is that you are crazy about people, and that you are relentlessly pursuing all of us, and that every single one of us is made in the image of you. And Father, I pray that wherever people are, whatever they're going through, whatever they're experiencing, that they would begin to see with more clarity how much you love them and how much you are pursuing them. Father, I pray that they would begin to have clarity around this question of who am I, in a way that just draws them closer to you. Thank you for your son, Jesus Christ, and thank you for what he's done for us. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.